Okay, so this is my character, right? This is the character I've been given to do turns on. Before I start, let me show you what I'm going to do. Like, show you with examples. I work for a show called Spider-Man, right? And Spider-Man.
You make it sound like we don't know about this. You make it sound like it's not very well known. Like, oh,
Yeah.
just in case you
No,
haven't
it's,
heard.
I don't think I don't watch TV much, and I never really saw it on TV. But I've seen it live. It's stronger because it's like live action. Okay, this guy, but no, I like that. Let me see what I have room. Looking for a turn. Okay. That's Venom, right? Make it hold here. I guess we're with Cheeks. Sean Gunaway. You guys familiar with that guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he does a lot of comic books. Right?
He did comic books. So this time when Sony got him to do Spider-Man, because his style was just very fresh, and it was really Comic-Con, and everybody wants to have Cheek stuff. So then Sony got this guy to do this, but he's a comic book guy at the time. So then they hired me to come and look at his characters and kind of like work together to show him how to turn things. Because sometimes you make the feet 1 foot bigger than the other to show perspective as part of his style. So then it was a real challenge because you're turning these characters. You want to see how it looks like from the side, the back, and everything, but still retain the feel of Cheeks. So this was Venom, and this is doing like action poses. And action poses are very necessary because you work out how like the shapes are gonna move. But before you do the action poses, you do, for me, when I'm designing these guys, I do something called construction, basic construction. So I have the main character, which is Spider-Man, right here. But I build like the shapes like you would in life drawing, like the main shapes, and how many heads tall he is, right? And I try to simplify everything in twos. How many heads tall he is, right? So it helps me, always helps me put him into. When I draw him, I always kind of remember that he's going to be 6 head tall. Then I do something called expressions. The mask, when you do expressions, the eyes are the most important part of the character. Then I would say the mouth and then the eyebrow, everything else, right? The eyebrows. So this mask was kind of challenging to show how he's going to grin, how he's going to be surprised, he's going to be like surprised like this one, how his personality is going to be, how his eye is going to work, and I try to do basic notes on expressions and construction. This is not a character that has very much. Now, Vulture, this is a term for Vulture. And it's still kind of like a tight rough. And then his expression, when he's a human person, how he's going to be who he is, right? Aggressive person. This is kind of the construction. I do the construction for me more than anybody else, because then when I know how tall he is and what size the shapes are in relation to each other, then it's easier for me to move him around in space. It's easier for me to do that. I know that the torso is here, how long the legs are. I use lines of action, like this way and that way. Right? You guys find your lines of action? Yeah? Okay. And so that would be the Vulture. Right? Then I have Mr. Mysterio with all the shapes. And when you see him here, it becomes a lot simpler to duplicate, right? See, you always, first you want to sketch the character really rough, super rough. Then you want to go into something that's called construction, figuring out the construction of your character. Because after you figure out the construction of your character, it's going to be easier for you guys to turn it. Right? And then move them around. See? And that, you kind of act it out. Like in a mirror, you kind of like press it on a big, you get the line of action going one way to make it strong. Even the cape, when characters have cape, are really helpful because it shows direction, how he's moving. Also, it's a prop. And when you add accessories to props to characters, it tells more where the character comes, who he is, and where he's going. Over here, he transforms into bats, or the little monsters like that, to come at you. This is something that someone who does effects animation would figure out. So that's another model pack I want to show you is for this show. It's this one, Jake and Neverland Pirates. If you have little brothers and sisters, you know this show. Who's familiar with this show? Yeah. Okay, this show is such a success. If you go to Toys R Us, it's gonna be all over the place. Merchandise is so lucrative, especially for a company like that can put it out there. Like Disney, they can probably put them out there. And these kids want to have parties with the theme of Jake and the Pirates, or Dora the Explorer, and others. Now this is the construction sheet for Cubby. Cubby is like, I always draw from life, and I remember in school there used to be this little kid that was like that, like really pudgy and cute and little, and he was smaller than the rest. So boom, made him into a cartoon. The expressions, how he is, was introverted. Expression totally help you flush character out. This is the turns, a lot simpler shapes, right? Very simple shapes. And this is gonna be Captain Hook. We made him less cute, more cartoony, right? So it fits with the rest of the characters. And you have expressions, turns. Then you have Easy. Easy is my niece. Eileen has little like pigtails at the time, and round hair, and eyes, really cute. And this is the expressions for her. Turnarounds. This is Jake, main character, and no expressions, right? When I put hands up, kind of helps me like do things like he's thinking, you know, just these are clean up expressions, but you can make them a lot simpler. There's a turn, simple turn. A poster always helps tell you what the show is about. You make it fun, right? This is the lineup. See, like different size lineup. When you go lineup, always helps you out because here you can adjust eyes. Sometimes the hair might be too big, you have to make it smaller. Sometimes her eyes may be a little too small, so you have to make it bigger. When you put them in a lineup, and you guys design your characters, and you put them all together, the good and the bad guys, that's when you make these adjustments, yeah? So they feel like they're in the same world. Peter Pan, you have to stylize them and put them in a shot. This is Scully, which is the pet. This is the sidekick. This, for the most part, is the one that sells the most. Like when you have a character like the Simpsons have Itchy and Scratchy, you see Itchy and Scratchy, you're like, oh, that's cool, I gotta have that toy. Yeah, this guy is phlegmatic, right? Nurture, yeah, Smee. You have Tinkerbell. Same Tinkerbell, you make it toony, you tune it higher. You have different expressions. So that's what a model pack is. This is what Jake and the Pirates was in the beginning. And it was 4 characters. And then we cut them up to less characters because less is more sometimes. When you have a show that has too many characters, it's really hard to follow. When you have 2 characters, 3 characters, it's easier to follow, right? This is what it used to be like, and in development, it completely changed to the other one. It completely changed to that. Now, going back to our character. When I get this character, what I'm going to do is go over it real quick. And there we go. I usually create a layer on top so I don't touch the main character, and I change the opacity a little bit, right? So I can kind of see them. Then I create another layer, and then I use different color. Get my brushes. Yeah, that's good. So now we're gonna study this character. Try to remember my commands. And always, to begin with, I try to make sure my file is kind of decent size. For image size, this is 4 by 3, it's pretty small. 300 dpi is good. I'll make it about 10 by 10. You always pay attention to the pixels. Whenever the pixels are between 3,000, I'm kind of happy 3,000 to 5,000 pixels. So even the line is better. You see that, the quality of the line? See? Who's familiar with Photoshop? Everyone draws in Photoshop? Yeah? Oh, okay, Cintiq. Cintiq is awesome for this. To have a Cintiq. Now, on the character, and now depends what this character is for. This character is pretty good for illustration because you may not move her too much. But when you want to animate it, you kind of want to simplify things if it's for animation. So let's focus on the head. Focus on the head. Now, I'll do the hair first. I try to work with the shapes in this case. I try to do a line here to simplify everything. Right. Can you guys see the color on it?
Yes.
Okay. Then I simplify this side too. Like that. Can you see that? Okay. Then I kind of get my shapes right here. I simplify that like that. Okay. Then the top is pretty good. Simplify that. Now this piece right here, I simplify. So I break down all the pieces. Now this one, simplify a little bit. Like that. Simplify that. See that? Building the shapes, really rough shapes. Now, if I need to have these strands of hair, I'll build them on top of this. You see that? But the main focus is this line. Then I can put another one here. You see that? Now, this right here is very even, which is good because it's easy to follow. But what would make it even more interesting is if, let's say you change it to like kind of over here, so you have like a more different spaces. Okay. When you design a character like this, you kind of want to keep in mind like, okay, the head's gonna be right here, the torso is gonna be longer, and little legs. Okay. That is a lot more interesting than if you break it down even. You don't want to make it too even, okay? Unless you're doing something for like Lego or something like that. But you kind of want to keep the shapes different. Like even, it could be long legs, little torso, or you break the head in between. Space, little long legs, long arms, you know, horns, whatever. But it still has this different sort of octopus hands. Little legs, the socks, the little socks. And you have a character for the bottom. You have a character for like this show, Amazing World Gumball. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Also, you see characters that are like from different like styles. 3D, 2D. You have a character like that. But you want to play with shapes. Even when you do a head, let's say you draw a head, you put a head, 2 different shapes. You can play around with putting the eyes on top, right? Put the eyes in the middle, okay? You put the eyes at the bottom, right? You get completely different characters. Yeah. Like this one can be like this. This one can be kind of like cute. You put it that. This one can be like rain. have like different characters based on where you place the eyes, right? And from here you can build on top of it. Is it ears, an alien? Do the first thing you see. Teeth, and you know, aliens. Right? And over here, it feels like a girl. It's like, okay, it's a girl. Distributed that. And that's how you start working. You kind of let the shapes kind of like put you into this like lucky coincidences. This kind of feels like a older guy, right? With wrinkles and stuff like that. Maybe age spots like this. A little bit droopy, like eyes. Now you got a nose. Good. This was like a long nose right here. The button nose. Oh, this is a chunky nose. You see? It's all shapes, but it's the same exact character, yeah? Play around with those things. Yeah. Now, before I move on to this girl, when you design this character, you want to create another layer. Because I want to make sure my character is placed kind of like in a cylinder. So let's say this is a cylinder like this. Like that. And this is the bottom. This style of turn, how you see this foot, how it's drawn originally, it's almost for 3D. Because in 3D, when you're building, you're going to see exactly how it is like that. In animation, you can kind of create a grid on it, like kind of like that. It's like a grid. So in animation, you kind of put the foot kind of like that, right? So it's placed on top of it. See that? You kind of see how I'm placing the foot there on top of it? Yes, I'll assume this. And then you have these cylinders here, right, that come up. And the reason why I put this whole like guide in here is because they tell me if I go in the middle in perspective and I have a cylinder like this would be the middle. This would be like other cylinder here or another cylinder here, like it was 3D, right? So if a belt comes around here, I know to kind of put it straight. But in this case, this character, it seems like sideways. This torso is kind of like pinned like that. So the belt's going to be like that. So over here, you kind of like follow that arc. Here, can you see that? So the cylinder kind of helps me understand where, like even the stretch is going to be. It's going to follow the cylinder. Can you see that? So then I follow that. You guys follow?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I start making these shapes over here that read well. You don't have to draw the cylinder, do it in your head. Okay? Now everything is cylinders. Even over here, I know these are gonna be here, so I'm gonna break it. I go this, I make this straight. And I make this curve and another straight. Or another curve. Straight. What works really well when you design, for instance, I'll do an example on arm. Straights against curves. Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we do an arm. It's gonna be kind of like this, and like that, right? Like an arm and a hand and all that. Next to it like this, right? I want to make curves. A curve, I would probably put it here to the bicep. Tricep, I'll make it straight. I'm gonna make a curve. Over here, I'll make a straight. Over here, I'll make another curve. And I kind of stylize my character like that, right? And I try to find all of those to make a graph. Like Spider-Man was totally like this. Like if you do a leg, you do like a curve, a straight on the back, calf muscle will be a curve, and another straight over here. And the foot, right? So I kind of try to like do these things because they show direction, show which direction the leg is needed. Now, going back to this young lady, and I figure out how this torso is going to work. In here, this is like it's like 3D. And the arms, I can read over here, and I always try to create a negative space. I never want things to connect too much, and if they do, I make sure my overlaps really well, and I'll explain soon. Over the arm, okay. In this case, it's kind of going down. In this case, I would make it kind of like this, coming at you like that, a little bit at you, so she's not like she's flying in the back. And I'll do the opposite on the other side, so we see how we handle things. Okay. Let me show the hands. If I was to put this hand next to her face, how it would be kind of really teeny. And that's a preference of design. You can make little small hands to make sure the character, that's the style of all the characters. And hands say a lot. Like for instance, if I give a character big hands, it's like a Hulk. It looks very powerful, right? If I can make him tall and bony hands, like Jack O'Lantern from The Nightmare Before Christmas, that guy? You make him Jack Skellington, right? Like ease my hands. Bruce Groove. They say a lot about the character. Hands are very important. Now over here, I'll make a hand that's bigger. Like not you. I usually just cut it in half like this. Then I have this muscle here, and I usually put the thumb here. And over here, I'll try to make space to do the other fingers like that. Just a little bit. Right? Like that. So you're going to turn every single piece. You got to understand how it works. Like you went from this area, cut it in half. And you have the thumb here. And you break down, depending if it's not 4, 6, whatever fingers. Shoulder. Right? So you do the hand. And to do the other side of the hand, you pretty much just do that, right? Nice trick. You guys already knew that. Okay, and so then I try to work all the characters' pieces like that. Who animates it? The animators will totally appreciate that. The designer designs a character, but the animator takes it to the next level. Right? Now, for this young girl, like as far as where like these lines are, I would kind of make it like simple. Make sure they all go towards somewhere. I wouldn't put it in the middle, I'll put it off to the side. And another one here. Even when I place the lines, I try to make it kind of different, not too even. I try to make it not too even. And over here, I still follow and wrap this around here, like that. Wrap around. I try to use the geometry that's there, so it's not so pushed, a little bit more, like I'm going to do in black. So I'll do this. Like it wraps around. How you place the lines say a lot of things. For instance, when we're handling overlaps, if you do something that's like this and like that, it looks like the form is in front of the other form, so this kind of comes like this. If you do a different overlaps that's like this and kind of like that, and this line doesn't really connect, it kind of tells you that it's a little bit flatter, right? Overlaps are very important how you handle clothes, and you can simplify it. Like when you do a shirt, let's say like a long t-shirt, and it comes like this, right? I don't want to just do it like that. I want to create an overlap that's kind of like this, right? And maybe it's like it's folded. It has weight at the bottom. This is the bottom, and the hand continues from here. So how you do an overlap would be like simple like this. That just does a lot. Don't connect that like that. See that? And everything is made of overlap. All the shapes that you do, like the chest, it's like this, overlap. The other here, the hose, car, it's in front of this, comes in the back. There's overlap right here. So you always keep overlaps, and it gives like the character dimension. Okay. Now going back to our lady, then I would create this. Now if you do it 3D, you can put a lot of detail in your characters. Like you can do textures, you can do all kinds of things. But if it's for 2D, this is why it's important what medium, how your character, what your character is for. If it's for TV, it's going to be probably a little bit simplified. So you would put perhaps less of these details here. In this case, you don't want to make it all even. Like you don't want to like make it uneven like that, like that. You don't want to do that, okay? Because it becomes more complicated. In this case. So you can break those rules. Over here, you make this thing kind of like turn a little bit here, and it makes for a more three-dimensional character. As opposed to make it graphic like that. You can do that too. You can make graphic. And you can run like this. Now, the hair. Over here, the hair you can make it a little more realistic like this. I don't know, right here, come over here, right here. Okay, they hit it, they hit it back, maybe they hit the step one. Just like that. And on this side, I can make it more graphic. Make it go like, really like graphic. Like that. You can do two different styles for this. The hairs will be like that. When you do hairs on the top, you wanna don't make it even. Okay? You don't wanna make it even like that. You're gonna make one long, one longer, and one short. Something like that. Always vary shapes, so it looks interesting. There are different types to do hair. You can do it like round, like this. See? You can do it like really graphic, like. Like graphic is, I use more straights and some curves. And this gives you two different styles, right? Two different ones.
That's Phineas, isn't it?
What was that?
The hairstyle was Phineas, wasn't it?
Phineas? Yeah, there's Phineas, more like that. It's a little round. And it's like a preference, choice. But you try to put those all over the character though, so everything reads well. Now, the head is very even. Now, the head. The head, don't draw in the top. Can you see the designer here? Kind of figure out how the head was going to be. Design how the head was going to be. It's kind of like that shape. And this is what you're looking for when you design. You want to design what's underneath the character when it comes to this. That you know where the eyes are. You're like, this is the half, it's going to be kind of like below the half. If it's not quite there yet, I will push my character to be kind of like underneath that. See, you'll still be the same character, but this will make it easier for you to replicate and other people to follow. And now I know my nose is going to be right underneath here. And then I know like at the bottom, in the middle, you start doing this in your head. It's going to be the mouth. Now, this is pretty cool because you leave this much space here because then you can play with the character and do different expressions on it. Like, you'll give you room to do like, ah. Like you can stretch the eye bigger. How the mouth and this going to work, like how the skull in there is going to work. See? Kind of like that, right? Can you see that? And then you can have this space over here. It's good to have plenty of space, especially for this character, because you can do like move around the eyebrows, like surprise, right? And you can do the things with the same expression, which become a lot of fun. Which on top of the same character, create another layer. And this is when you like have fun with it. Like this is gonna be like a dark character. It's gonna be like. She's still laughing. See the difference? We can make it like butt. Big difference like that. Or she can still be like grinning like. Still like she's mischievous. This is when you guys are gonna have fun. Like you see, like it's gonna be like. And even do that. But I don't know if you guys noticed as I was drawing, I was going like that. Trust me, I'm not crazy. People think crazy. It helps. It helps. You do that, see? You do it here. Then your compassion, you do your eyebrows go like this. You already know, like you don't even need to look at yourself in the mirror. It just flows right through. You know what expressions do you guys want to make? Even say it's like, right? Because this character automatically, without even knowing, is reminding me to the porcelain girl. Remember that porcelain doll? So my brain makes a connection with that. Like she's like, and then she's like, what are some expressions you guys would like to make?
Sad.
Sad?
Yeah.
So,
Come on, give him a hard one.
Like incredibly sad.
Like, oh, the other ending.
you can call it, I don't know, one eye open, one eye, maybe in other times you start exploring with different expressions. Look at all the character sheets and see like, I can do that. There are some expressions you get into where the eyes are grinning like this and the mouth in a certain position. Like even if you change it like by a little bit, it's completely a line can tell something different. Okay. Like sad default. There's like this is we like this. And I usually go looking at somebody like so she looks like she's looking up at someone. She's like looking at someone. So she looks really like she's about to cry, right? Now you put this on top like this, and look, she's about to cry even more. And then animators, then she start crying, right? Like even if you change this here, even smaller, like let's change the difference of the line. Let me see. Let me change that. And let's say even if you go to a little bit more, like it's a bit different between this and this. I'm about to cry, and then eyes, and of course then the next one will be she's crying, right? Now from here, to the side, it's really different, right? Now side anymore, she's kind of like, what is that person doing over there? Right? And then you change even this. It's like completely changes the character. And then we just did what? 6 different expressions? Boom, you're done. For those of you who are like, oh, it's too hard. Come on guys, it's not hard. You just have to act like it's hard so you get paid with it. Right? So then, oh, hey, animation is very lucrative, right? I didn't know that going into animation. I was kind of like, yeah, draw, but my parents always told me, you find a job where you're going to be happy doing it for the rest of your life. They never pressured me to be a doctor, they never pressured me to be anything. It's not that they didn't want me to be somebody in life, it's just they knew that this place is full of opportunities you can be and do pretty much anything. And so I remember my first day at Disney, I was like, man, I was 20 years old, and I was just like, they asked me, how much do you want to make? And I looked at the union dudes, and I kind of like asked for like an amount that I thought would be kind of even high, because when negotiating, they'll always give you like less, right? So then I said, this much, and they're like, okay. I was like, no way. No way. I was like, that year, everyone in my big family got a present for Christmas. I was like, wow. Like, by an animator, the designer, and then, the whole film, you can make anywhere between starting, I don't know if it's 14 now a week, 1,400 a week, to like 25, 3,000 a week. And I mean, 3D, it's really good CG artists, they make anywhere a sticker price between 2 to 3, 5. I mean, they're pretty high. I don't know what it is now, what the scale is out there, but it's a pretty lucrative job. I mean, I think it's, for me, like when I see someone who wants to be an animator or a designer, I'm like, go for it, because you have to have the passion for it, the love for it. There's gonna be tons of people trying to make an industry, but if you have that you like factor or that passion for it, you're always gonna be like ahead. You're always gonna be on top of that, And I'm not gonna lie to you, it takes mileage. The industry is kind of hard, like to get into, but it's not impossible. Let me tell you, there's a lot of work out there. So the character. Now, so we're building personality in the character, and I gotta tell you, I gotta confess to you, I really don't know what I'm doing. I just know how to follow a pattern that at the end gives me cool characters, and people think like, wow, you're cool, you know how to do that. But dude, I'm trying to figure out just like everybody, and all it takes is for you guys to like kind of start like putting that pencil mileage.
I think before we get started, I think it'd be a good time to take a break now.
Okay.
And then jump right back into it. So like,
right on.
Like 10, 15 minutes, guys. Come back.
I don't know where that's the rest of the